And this microscope here actually is the TCS SP8. What that means is two photon super resolution microscope. So the technology allows us through new technology look into this inside the cells, which with much more details that few years ago we were not able to see. So basically what is different in this microscope is that they have special lasers we are able to do image of live samples like cells, live cells, live tissues, and also in a very depth manner. So you can image a whole structure, for example, a whole vascular structure in a lung, for example. So what we see here, we're not just describing morphology, we are actually describing a whole phenomenon that's happening in real time. That's what is hot in this microscope. And I can show you how that works. Okay, I have some images. And
Can you tell me how much this microscope magnifies the image by? How powerful is it?
Over 1,000 times. It's pretty amazing. The resolution, actually, how we measure the resolution is up to 5 nanometers that we are able to differentiate it two different structures. So this is very cool.
That's
yeah.
great.
So actually, I also didn't told you that, but this microscope uses lasers that actually excite fluorescence proteins. So what we see here is actually fluorescence proteins in structures.
Okay. Fascinating. So on the screen, and I know we're going to dim the lights a little bit so we can see it a little bit better, but can you tell our viewers what we're going to be looking at on the screen?
Yes. Actually, what we're seeing here is smooth muscle cells, okay? And when you do a 3D image here, we can see in green the cytoskeleton, in red mitochondria and nucleus. And what is the power in this? As you can see a 3D view of the structures. And when this is in a live tissue, you actually can see them moving. It's a whole universe under the microscope. It's totally different.
So in terms of translational medicine, I think this is something that many people don't understand, but if you think of yourself having a disease for which there isn't a cure, you hope that some smart person working somewhere in a laboratory is figuring out exactly why you have that disease to develop either a test so it can be identified or a treatment so it can be cured. And the movement from a basic science lab, which is often in one building run by one person, to a clinic where you're seeing a doctor in a white coat, that is translation. So it is moving an idea and discovery to actually improve human health. Translation, though, just like languages, can go in both directions. You can go English-French, you can go French-English. So we can move from the patient. So if you come in with a disease, we can study your disease, take cells from you, and study what's specifically going on with you at the basic science level. So QCPU, the Cardiopulmonary Unit at Queen's, is designed to do that bi-directional translation.
One of the things that I think this satellite and the overall infrastructure brings to Queen's and to Kingston is a much more formal linkage of the clinical medicine that happens here and the more basic, more fundamental research that's done. I think probably most people in the community will think that this is a seamless linkage in perpetuity. It isn't. Most clinical medicine happens within a clinical sphere, and most of the basic biomedical and more fundamental research tends to happen in a parallel silo. What we're trying to do here is formalize an integration of those two, from our vantage point, separate entities. One of the things that brings, of course, is that I get to interact with physicians who see patients on a daily basis. I don't see many patients. In our lab, we work on, again, basic questions. Similarly, the physician gets to interact with people like me who know the limitations of current treatment and know what the problems are with respect to moving forward. So there's a synergy that comes from that, that you would really only get in a unit like this, where in fact I can be walking down the hall and run into Dr. Archer or Dr. Jory and discuss with them what we're doing in the lab and have them tell us what the limitations are in their clinical sphere. And I think that's going to be, moving forward, a very, very productive friendship in terms of moving forward.
When you do a 3D image here, we can see in green the cytoskeleton, in red mitochondria and nucleus. And what is the power in this? As you can see a 3D view of the structures. And when this is in a live tissue, you actually can see them moving. It's a whole universe under the microscope. It's totally different. And what is interesting about this microscope as well is the capacity of measurement. So in terms of basic and clinical research, and also comparing pathological and physiological conditions, this is a discovery tool, but also a diagnostic tool. I'm just going to give an example. For example, supposedly we want to measure the mitochondria, the number of mitochondria. Using tools, we can select what we want to measure, and using a very specific type of quantification, you actually can differentiate the different types of structures in the cell. So if you go closer, actually I can do a measurement and get information from a single structure. In terms of clinical, this is very important.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. I feel as if I could spend the whole afternoon talking to you and the viewers about the importance of this equipment and what it's going to mean for Kingstonians. But I really want to thank you so much for spending the time with us. And I'd like to thank our viewers as well for being with us today and understanding a little bit more about the Queen's Cardiopulmonary Unit and the importance that it is for Kingston and patients in Kingston. So thank you so much for viewing today.